Logitech just dropped the MX Master 4, the follow-up to what's arguably the best productivity mouse ever made, the MX Master 3S. I've used that mouse for years, I've reviewed it, compared it to everything else out there, so yeah, I was hyped for this one. But after getting it in hand, it's not what I hoped for. The mouse isn't bad, it's just frustratingly close to greatness. So in this video, I'll explain why I'm not quite vibing with it, where it whiffed, and what Logitech could have done to make it the perfect all-rounder. By the end of this video, you'll know whether the MX Master 4 is worth upgrading to, or if you should save your money and get something else instead. Also, just FYI, in case you missed it, I recently did a massive mouse comparison, so I think I've got a solid sense of what makes a great mouse. Let's get into it. Here's the most important thing to remember. This is a productivity mouse, not a gaming mouse, not an all-purpose mouse, and that's exactly why I'm disappointed. The MX Master 3S was almost the perfect balance of productivity and all-around performance, but the MX Master 4 has the exact same huge flaws holding it back, the first one being the polling rate. It's stuck at 125 Hertz. That's the same as the 3S. That sucks. Basically, that means it communicates with the computer only 125 times per second. Compare that to something like the Razer Basilisk V3 Pro, which can hit up to 8,000 Hertz. That's 8,000 inputs per second, which means it's buttery smooth, which is incredibly responsive for gamers, but also insanely precise for creators in Photoshop or while video editing. The low polling rate is very noticeable for me. So why didn't Logitech bump it up to even 250 Hertz or 500 Hertz? Well, it affects battery life. I mean, it is great to have a couple months to go in between charging, but more importantly, I think because they want to keep their product lines separate. If they bumped up the polling rate on this mouse and made it truly well-rounded, it'd cannibalize their gaming line. I mean, not entirely, but still. I'm not saying a higher polling rate would have made it perfect. There are other issues too, which I'll get to in a second, but it would have pushed this mouse from great to legendary and possibly made their other mice redundant. So it's not great for gaming, so what? Not everyone games. Is it still a great productivity mouse? Here's the thing, it has the coolest, newest features around, there's no doubt, the haptic feedback, the new action ring, the additional button for gestures, or whatever you want it to be. Even the materials they used make it feel like it will last a long time, an upgrade on the previous mouse. That is all great stuff that makes this mouse very useful for a lot of people, but I personally, and I'm gonna get really nitpicky here, I think the changes made to the ergonomics actually make this mouse worse than the 3S, and the software features they added for the 4 actually made the 3S even better. Let me get into it. So this mouse is wider, longer, and heavier than the 3S, which already was pretty thick and chunky. I've compared that mouse to a curling stone in the past, and this newer one is no different. But with mouse acceleration on, I actually don't mind the weight. It's nice to use, and I've even gamed on it for hours with no problem. What they did with the shape though, is they made the arch not only higher with more of a drastic drop off, it feels like they moved it slightly forward. So instead of it having a natural curve and my palm resting on the back of the mouse, the pads under my knuckles feel like they rest on the arch and my palm doesn't sit comfortably on the mouse at all. It creates space where I don't want there to be space, like a forced claw grip instead of a palm grip, which I talked about in my other video. Look at how my hand sits naturally with this mouse. Now look how my hand sits with the 3S. And now look with the Razer Basilisk. The Basilisk is flatter, which offers a different angle, I understand, and maybe the MX Master 4 might be better for relieving pain with the angle in the long run. I haven't worked with it for months yet, so I can't really talk on that, but what I can tell you is that in my hand, it doesn't feel as good as those other mice, and I'm not as precise with this mouse as I am with the Basilisk or even the 3S, which makes it worse when darting around in my applications. It slows me down. And look, the whole point of getting a good expensive mouse is it needs to feel like an extension of your body, right? I want a keyboard and mouse that allows me to work as fast as I can think. I don't want there to be any bottlenecks. I find the MX Master 4 limits my speed more than the 3S does because of its design. Now that hump might be fine for other people, but I find I have to choke up on this mouse for it to be comfortable. But then when I choke up on the mouse a bit, the side button placements feel worse. Like, I love the new gesture button, and obviously I'm a huge fan of the back and forward buttons on the side, but where they put them in the shape of them, I think the back button is just a little bit too far back, but what I really don't like is how the buttons protrude. I like to just roll my thumb up and hit the back button. Look at the Basilisk buttons. They are bigger, they are flatter, they feel fantastic. But the MX Master 4, why'd they make them stick out so much and put it so far back? It just doesn't feel good or as good for me when using those buttons. These buttons just feel really basic. And perhaps my biggest pet peeve with this mouse, which I'll be curious if it bothers anyone else, is with the new haptic feedback button. Look where my thumb often naturally rests. It's like between all the buttons. It sits at the top of the new button, so it touches the button, the side of the mouse, and the side buttons. I don't like it. I'm sure maybe you get used to it, and I get that this could be a me problem in the shape of my hands, but I bet other people will have this experience as well. I don't like where my thumb sits on top of this button and touching all these other buttons. This mouse does not feel like home to me the way the 3S did the very first time I touched it. Maybe I have rose-colored glasses on. Look, I appreciate a lot of things about this mouse. This mouse is good, and I mean that after trying out a lot of mice recently. The quiet clicks are best in class. I sure am a fan of Logitech clicks, especially in an office setting. Basilisk is so noisy compared to it. And I love that it comes with a bolt connector in the box. Nice. The machined scrolls at the top and on the side are top notch as well. And like I said, I rarely charge the MX Master 3S, and I'm sure this will be no different. But this new mouse is clearly meant to be used with software. That's where it shines. You can't customize it on your computer then use it with other computers with those customized settings. It doesn't store that on the mouse. You have to use it on computers that also have Logitech options installed. So that means it could be a problem for people who want to customize this mouse for their work computers but don't have access to that software. That's not an issue for me, but I'm just saying. I think the best part about the MX4 is the action ring. It's super slick and default set to the haptic feedback button, and it adds a whole slew of new awesome features you can quickly access. It's nice! But check this out, the MX Master 3S, which has this weird button I never use on it. I mean, some people might use gestures a lot with it. I never really do. But I've noticed in the Options Plus software, I can now program that action ring button. And since I never used that button on my MX Master 3S, now I can set it to the action ring and give it all those cool, fancy new features the 4 has. That's super rad. I feel like that action ring now being programmable on the 3S makes the 3S way better and feels like an upgrade. I love that. And it makes the button, while still cool, less unique on the 4. The haptic feedback is still interesting, but I mean, is that feature alone worth upgrading for? To me, it's not. A lot of people had issues with the rubber decomposing. I haven't had that issue personally, but I don't really have sweaty hands, and I always have clean hands when I use my mouse. A lot of people have also had scrolling and clicking issues, and I don't know if I just got a good one, but this mouse has been absolutely fantastic for me. So good that I'm going to return this MX Master 4. While I think the features it has are very fancy and modern, I feel like there aren't enough improvements to the meat and potatoes of this mouse for me to warrant spending extra money. I wanted a productivity mouse I could game on, and they didn't give it to me. And that's okay, that's on me. I had the wrong expectations with this mouse. But who the heck is gonna release that mouse? I just feel like out of the box, this mouse isn't good enough at being a mouse that I wanted it to be. Some people need extra buttons and extreme customization, so this will be great for them. I just want my mouse to feel good in my hand, have buttons that feel great and don't slow me down, and allows me to work fast. This Razer Basilisk is amazing. It has an awesome sensor that feels great for gaming and precision work, but listen to the clicks. It's so loud! It has awesome RGB and good ergonomics, but I want the quiet clicks, you know? The fancy haptics and action rings are sweet too. Who's gonna make the one mouse to rule them all? Will anyone make it? I just don't know. Buying the right mouse will be different for everyone, and I think a lot of people are going to love this mouse. I personally think it's ideal for people with bigger hands, and obviously not for people who game. I just think there are a lot of people like me who want a mouse that's good for both, and I don't think that's too much to ask for. I mean, in my last video, I've showcased a lot of different mice that do have high polling rates and comfy ergonomics. So they do exist. I just want Logitech to make that mouse because their clicks and software are my favorite. I want a golden goose now. I actually still think the 3S is a fantastic mouse, especially if you can get it for a hot price. I think the 4 is a solid choice for people who can use the software on their computers, want extra buttons and customizability on their mice, and want to get into the MX Master lineup, but have never used one before. I'm not blown away with it, but I still think it's good. It's just not so good that I want to use it instead of my 3S. But I'm kind of cheap and don't really care about haptic feedback. I'd rather have a mouse that feels like an extension of my body instead of one that feels worse in my hand with cooler new features. What do you think? Do I sound crazy? Are my expectations way off for what a mouse should be in this day and age? Have you tried the 4 or are you gonna buy one? And if not, what mouse would you use instead? I can't wait to talk more about this mouse in the comments. Maybe I'll give it a little while longer before I return it. It might grow on me. It hasn't yet, but we'll see. I might do a reversal video in a week or two. I doubt it. Using this mouse for a while now has actually really made me look forward to going back to my other mice. In case you missed my Ultimate Mice Showdown video, check that out here. Or if you want to learn more about what keyboard I recommend to complement your mouse, I'll leave that here. If you're able to support the channel with a quick thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow. And if you're new here, I love sharing products that make life better or more interesting. So subscribe if you like those kind of videos. As always, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time on Upgradeitis.